I think we are ready to go. Okay, here we are. Okay, so we're going to go. We're going to chant Caritamrta again. Hold on a second. Jaya Kunda Vihari, Jaya Randa Madhava, Jaya Kunda Vihari, Vichana Padapa, Jaya Giri Varodhari, Giri Varodhari, Vichana Padapa, Jaya Giri Varodhari, Giri Varodhari, Yasodanandana, Jaya Vrajajana Nandana, Yasodanandana, Jaya Vrajajana Nandana, Yamunatira Manacharina Kunda Vihari, Jaya Kunda Vihari, Yamunatira Manacharina Kunda Vihari, Jaya Kunda Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunda Vihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunda Vihari, Vichana Palama, Giri Varodhari, Giri Varodhari, Vichana Palama, Jaya Giri Varodhari, Giri Varodhari, Yasodanandana, Jaya Vrajajana Nandana, Yasodanandana, Jaya Vrajajana Nandana, Yamunatira Manacharina Kunda Vihari, Kunda Vihari, Yamunatira Manacharina Kunda Vihari, Kunda Vihari, Jaya Randa Madhava, Jaya Kunda Vihari, Jaya Randa Madhava, Jaya Kunda Vihari. Jai Om Vishnu Pada. Paramahan Sapar Victoria Olsen. Tada Sadashi Shiva, Divine Grace. Abhaya Jagannath Bhaktivedanta Goswami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Devotee Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidway Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaura Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees, all glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deja Tarini Somagana Tamiranda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances under the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So now we're continuing with our study of the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta, Adi Lila, Chapter 7, and I believe it's text 114 we're starting with today. Yes, I am right. Okay. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, Caitanya Charitamrita. We're going to share the screen. All right, and where is that? Okay, here we go. And give me 1 second to get this set up. Okay, so we're on text 114 tonight. So Tanra dosha nahi teno Agnakari dasa Araye shunitara hoye Sarvanasha. Whoops. Okay. Shankaracharya, who is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, is faultless because he's a servant carrying out the orders of the Lord. But those who follow his Mayavadi philosophy are doomed. They will lose all their advancement in spiritual knowledge. And actually, we already talked about this. Mayavadi philosophers are very proud of exhibiting their Vedanta knowledge through grammatical jugglery. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna certifies that they are Maya Prita Jnana, Parita Jnana, bereft of real knowledge due to Maya. Maya has two potencies with which to execute her two functions. The Praksepamika Shakti, the power to throw the living entity into the ocean of material existence, and Avaranatmika Shakti, the power to cover the knowledge of the living entity. The function of the Avaranatmika Shakti is explained in the Bhagavad Gita by the word Mayaya Parita jnana. So, anyway, this is from the verse describing the four types of people who do not surrender to Krishna. Uh, Namam duskritino muda prabhajante naradama maya parita jnana suram bhavam ashvata. So these four types of people who don't surrender to Krishna, and these types are not mutually exclusive. You can be all four types simultaneously. So see if you fit in any of these types. One type, namam duskritino mudha. Mudha means basically ass. It doesn't mean that you are literally a donkey. It means basically that all you're doing is working, making money, spending your money, and eating and sleeping and mating, defending, and that's the whole be all and end all of your existence. Mudha. Anyway, and then prapadante nuradama. Nuradama means lowest of mankind. It means you're uncivilized. You're uncivilized. What can I say? How can I describe that? And of course, there's many people in this world who are uncivilized just by their culture, but there's many people who are uncivilized in spite of being born in a civilized culture. And that happens in India quite a bit. Mam discretino mudha prapadante naradama. Naradama means lowest of mankind. Maya paretya jnana. That means those whose knowledge, they're so proud of their materialistic knowledge and methodologies of attaining knowledge through direct perception, through induction, and they think they know everything. So they're Maya Aparita Jnana. And then the last type of people who don't approach Krishna are known as Asuram Bhavam Ashrita. Those who have taken shelter of really like demoniac philosophies, like I'm God, you're God, we're all God, hate God, like Hiranyakashipu. So Hiranyakashipu was actually several of those different categories. I don't know if you would exactly say he's a Buddha, but basically he was a little civilized, but he was definitely Maya Paharita Jnana. His knowledge was stolen by illusion, and he was definitely a Suram Bhavamasrita, a demon. So he was two out of the four, at least. So while the Daivi Maya, or illusory energy of Krishna, takes away the knowledge of the Mayavadi philosophers, and of course that's also described by Krishna, Maham Prakasha Sarvasha, Yogamaya Samavrata, that I am covered by my potency, Yogamaya Samavrata. Takes away the knowledge of the Mayavadi philosophers, is also explained in Bhagavad Gita by the use of the words Asuram Bhavam Ashrita, which I just said when I was quoting the verse, which refer to a person who does not agree to the existence of the Lord. The Mayavadis who are not in agreement with the existence of the Lord can be classified in two groups, exemplified by the impersonalist Shankarites of Varanasi and the Buddhists of Saranatha. Both groups are Mayavadis, and Krishna takes away their knowledge due to their atheistic philosophies. Why do we call them both Mayavadis? Because they are saying the Lord's pastimes, the Lord's form, the Lord's nature, qualities is all, or are all illusion. Maya. That's why they're called Mayavadis. Both these groups say that. Neither group agrees to accept the existence of a personal God. The Buddhist philosophers clearly deny both the soul and God, and although the Shankarites do not openly deny God, they say that the Absolute is nirakara, or formless. But thus, both the Buddhists and the Shankarites are of Avishuddha Buddhya, that means impure intelligence, or imperfect and unclean in their knowledge and intelligence. Most prominent. Uh-oh, I think I have to read this. The most prominent Mayavadi scholar, Sadhananda Yogendra, has written a book called Vedanta Sara, in which he expounds the philosophy of Shankaracharya, and all the followers of Shankara's philosophy attribute great importance to his statements. In this Vedanta Sara, Sadhananda Yogendra defines Brahman as Satchidananda, combined with knowledge and without duality, and he defines ignorance as knowledge distinct from that of Sat and Asat. Let me describe that. He defines Brahman as Satchidananda, which we also say, eternity, bliss, and knowledge. But he also says without duality. There's no duality, everything is just one. This is almost inconceivable, but is a product of the three material qualities. Thus, he considers anything other than pure knowledge to be material, and his pure knowledge is that everything is one. The center of ignorance is considered to be sometimes all-pervading and sometimes individual. Thus, according to his opinion, both the all-pervading Vishnu and the individual living entities are products of ignorance. I mean, we're all products of ignorance. Therefore, Vishnu is Maya, according to him. In simple language, it is the opinion of Sadhananda Yogendra that since everything is nirakara, formless, the conception of Vishnu and the conception of the individual soul are both products of ignorance. He also explains that the Vishuddha Sattva conception of the Vaishnavas is nothing but pradhana, or the chief principle of creation. Of course, pradhana means the unmanifest stage of the three modes of material nature, before material nature becomes manifest. It means formless. He maintains that when the all-pervading knowledge is contaminated by the Vishuddha Sattva, which consists of the transformation of the quality of goodness, there arises the conception of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who was omnipotent, omniscient, supreme ruler, the supersoul, the cause of all causes, the supreme Ishvara, etc. Don't try to understand it, because I don't even think he understands it. According to Sadhananda Yogendra, because Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, is the reservoir of all ignorance. What an offense. He may be called Sarvagya or omniscient, but one who denies the existence of the omnipotent Supreme Personality of Godhead is more than Ishvara, the Lord. If it doesn't sound stupid to you, then maybe you should join the Sadhananda Yogendra. His conclusion, therefore, is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ishvara, is a transformation of material ignorance, and the living entity, Jiva, is covered by ignorance. Thus, he describes both collective and individual existence in darkness. According to Mayavadi philosophers, the Vaishnava conception of the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and of the Jiva, or individual soul, as his eternal servant, is a manifestation of ignorance. If we accept the judgment of Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, however, the Mayavadis are to be considered Mayaya Aparita Jnana, bereft of all knowledge, because they do not recognize the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or they claim that his existence is a product of the material conception Maya. These are the characteristics of asuras, or demons, like I said. The Mayavadis fall in two categories in this four-category analysis given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. They are Maya Aparita Jnana and also Asuram Bhavamashrita. Their knowledge is stolen by illusion, number one, and they are of the atheistic nature of demons. Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu in his discourses with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has said, Jivera Nishtara Lagi Sutra Kaila Vyasa Mayavadi Vasya Shuni Lehaya Sarvanasha. It's from the Chaitanya Charitamrta, Majja Lila 669th verse. Vyasadeva composed the Vedanta Sutra to deliver the conditioned souls from this material world, but Shankaracharya, by presenting the Vedanta Sutra in his own way, has clearly done a great disservice to human society, for one who follows his Mayavad philosophy is doomed. In the Vedanta Sutra, devotional service is clearly indicated, but the Mayavadi philosophers refuse to accept the spiritual body of the Supreme Absolute Person and refuse to accept that the living entity has an individual existence separate from that of the Supreme Lord. Thus, they have created atheistic havoc all over the world, for such a conclusion is against the very nature of the transcendental process of pure devotional service. The Mayavadi philosophers unrealizable ambition to become one with the Supreme through denying the existence of the personality of Godhead results in a most calamitous misrepresentation of spiritual knowledge, and one who follows this philosophy is doomed to remain perpetually in this material world. What a curse. Therefore, the Maya bodies are called avashuddha buddhiyaha, or unclean in knowledge. Again, Prabhupada repeats that, because they are unclean in knowledge, all their austerities and penances end in frustration. Thus, although they may be honored at first as very learned scholars, ultimately they descend to physical activities of politics, social work, etc. Instead of becoming one with the Supreme Lord, they again become one with these material activities. This is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 2nd chapter, text 32. Aruya Krishna Parampadam Tata Patanchado Nadrata Yusmad Angraya. This is a famous verse. Let me see if I remember the rest of the verse. Ye ne Ravan Yakshaving Muktamani Ma Twayasta Bavad Avashuddha Buddhiya. Okay, that's the rest of the verse. And then Aruya Krishna Parampadam Tata Apatanchado Nadrata Yusmad Angraya. It says, Ye ne Ravan Yaksha. They have not taken shelter of the lotus eyes, or appreciate the lotus eyes of the Supreme Personality of God. They are simply liberated in their minds. They're not actually liberated. And then, Avashuddha Buddhiya, they have impure intelligence. And then, as a result of that, even if they go up to the Brahman effulgence, Aruya Kuchena Param Padam, they may reach the Brahman effulgence, but Patanjado Nadrita, Yushmadangreha, they again fall down. Okay. Translation. That's a very important verse, actually, that I often quote, and Prabhupada often quotes, 10:2:32. Ye Ravan Jaksha Vimuktimanina, Twayasta Bavad, Avashudi Puraya, Ruyukachena Param Padam Tata, Patanchito Nadrita Yujmat Angreaha. In actuality, the Mayavadi philosophers very strictly follow the austerities and penances of spiritual life, and this way are elevated to the impersonal Brahman platform, but due to their negligence of the lotus feet of the Lord, they again fall down to material existence, which is what I just said. They rise to Brahman, and there's no activities, there's no happiness. All there is the relief from material distress there, and then they fall down to the material world, and they engage in activities, generally in the modalidad of goodness. And modalidad is Spanish for mode. Text 115. Prakritya karya mane Vishnu kalevara Vishnu ninda haranahi ihara upara. One who considers the transcendental body of Lord Vishnu to be made of material nature is the greatest offender at the lotus feet of the Lord. There is no greater blasphemy against the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow. Purport. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami explains that the variegated personal feature of the Absolute Truth is the Vishnu Tattva, and that the material energy which creates this cosmic manifestation is the energy of Lord Vishnu. The creative force is merely the energy of the Lord, but the foolish conclude that because the Lord has distributed himself in an impersonal form, he has no separate existence. The impersonal Brahman, however, cannot possess energies, nor do the Vedic literatures state that Maya, the illusory energy, is covered by another Maya. So they have to get into endless layers of Maya. There are hundreds and thousands of references, however, to Vishnu Maya, Purusha Shakti. That means Lord Vishnu's potency. Purusha Shakti means there's many potencies of the Lord, or the energy of Lord Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, text 14, Krishna refers to Mama Maya. My energy, and actually says Mama Maya Durachya. Krishna says, my energy is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. Isn't it? Maya is controlled by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is not that he is covered, that's Krishna, by Maya. Therefore, Lord Vishnu cannot be a product of the material energy. In the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, it is stated, or said, Janma Jasya Yataha. And it's the same as the Srimad Bhagavatam, first verse of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, indicating that material energy is also an emanation of the Supreme Brahman. In other words, Janma Jasya Yataha. The absolute truth is that which from everything comes. How then could he be covered by the material energy? So the material energy comes from him. He doesn't come from the material energy. If that were possible, material energy would be greater than the Supreme Brahman. And that's pretty el stupido. Even these simple arguments, however, cannot be understood by the Mayavadi philosophers, and therefore the term Maya Aparita Jnana, which is applied to them in the Bhagavad Gita, is extremely appropriate. Anyone who thinks that the Lord Vishnu, that's God, is a product of the material energy, as explained by Sadananda Yogindra, should immediately be understood to be insane, for his knowledge has been stolen by the illusory energy. Lord Vishnu cannot be placed within the category of the demigods. Those who are actually bewildered by the Mayavadi philosophy and are still in the darkness of ignorance consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod in defiance of the Rig Vedic mantra Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam. Vishnu is always in the superior position. This mantra is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Matat Parataram Nanyat. That's from the 7th chapter, 7th verse. There's no true superior to Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Dhananjaya. Maya sarvam idam proktam sutre maniganaiva. I'll give the whole verse. There's no true superior to me, Krishna says. But everything comes from me, and everything rests on me, just like pearls rest on what? A thread. Just like the thread and the pearls, because you can't see the thread if the pearls are, let's say, real close to each other. So that's the material energy. You can't see underlying all this material energy and the consciousness and everything else. There's Krishna. Just like pearls on a thread. What a great example Krishna gives. Thus, only those whose knowledge has been bewildered consider Lord Vishnu to be a demigod, and therefore suggest that one may worship either Lord Vishnu, the goddess Kali, or whoever one likes and achieve the same result. That's pretty stupid, whoever you like. Oh, why don't you just worship me and give everything to me, and then I'll give everything to Krishna. Actually, I was listening to a class this morning, and the devotees were talking about how in India, at least when Prabhupada was present and when we first went to India, they would have places that would sell meat, and they would have Kali's name on the top. And then they would distribute the meat, not distribute, they sell the meat. And they say, this is prasad, Kali prasad. So Prabhupada commented, and this is also in the Vedic literatures and in Bhagavatam too, that Kali does not eat meat. It's her followers who may eat meat. And that was brought out in the story of Jadabharta, where Jadabharta was basically offered to the goddess Kali by some dacoits, and Jadabharta was a great devotee, and the goddess Kali didn't like it so much, so the goddess Kali came right out of the altar, from the altar, and cut off all the heads of the dacoits, and with her followers, they killed the dacoits, and the followers drank the blood from the headless bodies of the dacoits. But not her, she's a vegetarian. That's a fact. She likes prasadam, Krishna prasad. This is a bunch of bogus. They try to justify meat eating by saying you can offer to the goddess Kali. Now, there is some injunction that people want you to go once a month, can all do it on the full moon night. It's actually full moon tonight. Ooh, got to be careful. They may want to offer me tonight to the goddess Kali. This is an important conclusion. And they say, Mom said, Kadati, that in the next life, my dear goddess Kali, this animal that I'm killing, goat, not cow, will get a chance to eat me. This is an ignorant conclusion that is not accepted in the Bhagavad Gita in the 9th chapter, text 25, which distinctly says, Yanti Deva, Patan Devan Yanti, as you know, Pima, which basically means those who worship the demigods, go to the demigods. Those who worship the forefathers, go to the forefathers. And those who worship Krishna, go to Krishna. So this is a famous thing the Mayavadis say, not the Bhagavad Gita verse. They say, wherever you worship, go to the same place. But that is stupid. Even in the material world, wherever you buy a ticket or whatever type of ticket you buy at the airport, it's not that all planes go to the same place. You can buy a ticket for Miami, or you can buy a ticket. Of course, nowadays you can't even travel internationally. Can't even go to Canada anymore. What a disaster. Or you can buy a ticket for Alaska. You could go there if you like the cold. But you're not going to go to the same place. Whatever ticket you buy, that's where you go, buddy. The worshippers of the demigods will be promoted to the respective planets of the demigods, but devotees of the Supreme Lord will go back home, back to Godhead. Jai. Lord Krishna explains very clearly in the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, text 14, that his material energy is very difficult to overcome. We heard that verse before. Daiva yeshu gunamayi mama maya dorachya, but mama eva ye prapajante. So that's the next line. This material energy, agunamayi, the three modes of material nature, is my energy, Krishna says, and is very difficult to overcome. But one who surrenders unto me, Krishna says, then can easily cross beyond it. The whole material energy becomes no more than the water in a calf's hoof rinse, and one can step over it if one is Krishna conscious. Maya's influence is so strong that even learned scholars and spiritualists are also covered by Maya and think themselves to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, however, to free oneself from the influence of Maya, one must surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Krishna also states in the Bhagavad Gita, the 7:14, Mama Eva Ye. That's the second part of the verse, and I actually just quoted it. Mama Eva Ye Prapajante, Mayame Tam Tarantite. They can easily cross beyond. It is to be concluded, therefore, that Lord Vishnu does not belong to this material creation, but to the spiritual world. To misconceive Lord Vishnu to have a material body or to equate him with the demigods is the most offensive blasphemy against Lord Vishnu, and offenders against the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, and Krishna is included in that, cannot advance in spiritual knowledge. They are called Maya, Harita Jnana, those whose knowledge is instilled by the influence of illusion. One who thinks that there is a difference between Lord Vishnu's body and his soul dwells in the darkest region of ignorance. Ooh. Also, one who thinks that these in the spiritual world have a difference between their bodies and their soul, they're also in ignorance. There's no difference. It's not that you get a spiritual body in the spiritual world. You are your spiritual body, buddy. There is no difference between Lord Vishnu's body and Vishnu's soul, for they are Advaya Jnana, one knowledge. Advaya means one, and Jnana means knowledge. In this world, there's a difference between the material body and the spiritual soul. But in the spiritual world, everything's spiritual, and there are no such differences. That's called duality. You are your body there. Yeah, there's no duality. Here it's duality. You're different from your body. You're different from your mind. All sorts of dualities. The greatest offense of the Mayavadi philosophers is to consider Lord Vishnu and the living entities be one and the same, and this connection The Padma Purana states, Arche Vishnu Shiladiya Gurushu Naramatiya Vaishnave Jati Buddhi Yashava Naraki Saha. One who considers the Archa Murti, the worshipful deity of Lord Vishnu, to be a stone, the spiritual master to be an ordinary human being, and a Vaishnava to belong to a particular caste or creed, is possessed of hellish intelligence. One who follows such conclusions is doomed, finished, bas, finito, destruido. It means destroyed. So don't even think about it. And that is a threat. I'm not going to do it. Krishna's going to carry out that threat, or Krishna's energies will carry out that threat. Ishvarera tatpa yena jwalita jwalanha jivera surupa yaiche pulingera kana. The Lord is like a great blazing fire, and living entities are like small sparks of that fire. So I'm that small spark. Although sparks and a big fire are both fire and both have the power to burn, the burning power of the fire and that of the spark are not the same. Why should one artificially try to become like a big fire? Although by constitution he's like a small spark. In other words, why should one think he's God when he's just like tiny, insignificant? It is due to ignorance. That means ignoring the truth. One should therefore understand that neither the Supreme Personality of Godhead nor the small spirit spark-like living entities have anything to do with matter. But when the spiritual spark comes in contact with the material world, his fiery quality is extinguished. So that's the point. By association, our quality becomes covered. Our true spiritual quality becomes covered. So we can become influenced by the modes of nature, either in modes in a person or whatever. Just like right now, those who are influenced by the modes of nature, it's the full moon out. And I've seen people who I deal with who are influenced by the modes of nature. They become scary. I don't mean they become werewolves during the full moon. I mean they become scary because they're so emotionally unstable. So it's scary. I hate to go and talk to anybody. Anyway, so like Karanam Guna Sangasha Sadasa Jana Jonishu. Our entanglement is due to Guna Sangha, association with the modes of nature. So we may think, oh, I'll go hang out here, go hang out there, let me go to the bar and see what they're doing. I'm not going to drink. So, but you go there and you become engulfed by that mode of nature. And then you become bewildered. That is the position of the conditioned souls. Because they are in touch with the material world, touching the modes of nature. Their spiritual quality is almost dead. You can see that when someone, let's say a devotee goes somewhere, goes home or something for a week or two, and they come back, it's like looking at a corpse because they're so covered. The sparkle of their eyes becomes diminished. It's like looking at a computer. Because these spiritual sparks are all Krishna's part and parcels, the Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita, Mami Vangsa, they can revive their original position by getting free of the material contact. Really important. This is pure philosophical understanding. The Bhagavad Gita, the spiritual sparks are declared to be Sanatana, eternal. Therefore, the material energy of Maya cannot affect their constitutional position. So one may argue, why is there a need to create spiritual sparks? The answer can be given in this way, since the absolute personality of Godhead is omnipotent, means all-powerful, he has both unlimited and limited potencies. This is the meaning of omnipotent. To be omnipotent, he must have not only unlimited potencies, but limited potencies also. The living entities are endowed with limited potency, although they are part of the Lord. The Lord displays the spiritual world by his unlimited potencies, whereas by his limited potencies, the material world is displayed. In the Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, text 5, the Lord says, Aparayamiktas twanyam prakratim vidime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Besides these inferior energies, O mighty armed Arjuna, there's another superior energy of mind which comprises all the living entities who are exploiting the resources of this material inferior nature. That's us. The Jiva Bhuta, the living entities, control this material world with their limited potencies. Generally, people are bewildered by the activities of scientists and technologists. Due to Maya, they think that there is no need of God and they can do everything and anything, but actually they cannot. Since this cosmic manifestation is limited, their existence is also limited. Everything in this material world is limited. And for this reason, there is creation, sustenance, and dissolution. However, in the world of unlimited energy, the spiritual world, there is neither creation nor destruction. If the personality of Godhead did not possess both limited and unlimited energies, he could not be called omnipotent. Again, the same thing. Anor aniyan mahato mahiyan. He's small than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. The Lord is small and the smallest and greater than the greatest. He is smaller than the smallest in the form of the living entities and greater than the greatest in his form as Krishna. If there were no one to control, there would be no meaning to the conception of the supreme controller. That is true, Ishvara. Just as there's no meaning to a king without his subjects. If all the subjects became king, there would be no distinction between the king and the ordinary citizen. Thus, for the Lord to be the supreme controller, there must be creation and control. The basic principle for the existence of living entities is called Chid Vilasa, or spiritual pleasure. The omnipotent Lord displays his spiritual pleasure as the living entities. The Lord is described in the Vedanta Sutra as an Annamayo Vyasat. He is by nature the reservoir of all pleasures, and because he wants to enjoy pleasure, there must be energies to give him pleasure and supply him impetus for pleasure. This is the perfect philosophical understanding of the absolute truth. Really an amazing tour de force, complete explanation of Krishna in relationship to his energies. Okay, we will allow, by my unlimited mercy, Pran Govinda to ask a question about this. So you can ask a question. Whoops. Are you there?
Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes to Prabhupada.
All glories Prabhupada. So ask your question.
Maharaj, I want you to clarify to me one thing. That's I'm going to explain you what I understood. That one undivided Brahman, when we all accept, Mayavadi says that mistaking one thing with another, Vivartavad, is their philosophy, where they said that whatever you're seeing is actually seeing it wrong. It's only undivided one Brahman.
That's right.
Correct. Okay. So then Mahaprabhu also explaining that one undivided Brahman, but he's saying always endowed with Shakti, potency.
That's
so
right.
that the Brahman remain undivided, but his sweet will causes the potency to transform or manifest, whatever. Okay.
And
then
Brahman is undivided, but he also has variety in Brahman.
Correct. So then question comes.
Bhagwan iti shabdite. Okay, go ahead.
So then question comes, what is this Brahma Parinambad, and who are the followers then?
Brahma Parinambad, they're another group of Mayavadis. So there's Brahma Vivartavad and Brahma Parinambad. Brahma Vivarta means the Brahman is an illusion.
Correct.
Brahma Parinam means the Brahman becomes transformed. But Brahman, they say, that the Brahman becomes transformed, or the Vishuddha. Well, there's different varieties of this. That the Supreme Brahman becomes transformed into the Jiva souls. That's Brahma, and to the material world. And ultimately, everything is one, but right now it's become transformed. But Brahman is never transformed. For example, even our nature, which is Brahman, is not transformed. It's just we forget our nature, but it's not transformed. It's not changed. And Krishna is never transformed because Om Purnamada Purnamidam. So many complete units emanate from him, and he remains exactly the same. He never becomes transformed. So the problem with their philosophy, the one argument we can use against the Brahma Parinam Vad people, is that if you say Brahman becomes transformed, then there must be some second force that transforms the Brahman, which is more powerful than the Brahman. You understand?
Then it is not the definition of Brahman.
Yeah, then there's no Brahman. That's the contradiction in their philosophy. Because Brahman means the greatest.
Yes.
So if you say the contradiction in the Brahman Parinam Vad philosophy is that you're saying that there's something greater than Brahman, so the Brahman is not Brahman. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, a little philosophy there. Hope everybody understood what I was saying. Let me translate that into common English. Okay, Vivarta means illusion. Okay, there's two words we're going to deal with here. Three words. There's Brahman. Let me stop sharing since this is the appropriate time to stop sharing. So there's three words you can all learn at this particular juncture. Hold on a second. One word is Brahman, which means the greatest. Sometimes it means spirit, but in this particular context, it means the greatest. And then the other word is Parinam, which basically means transformation. And then the other word is Vivarta, which means illusion. So there's two types of Mayavadis. One is saying Brahma Vivartavad, the other one is Brahma Parinamvad. One type of Mayavadi is saying, Mayavadi, of course, or let's go back to the word Mayavadi so we can explain that. Mayavadi says that the Lord's nature is illusion. The Lord's personality, the Lord's activities, the Lord lifting Govardhan Hill, all illusion. It's all big, big illusion. Just like the material world, our connection with the material world is illusion. So anyway, so those are the two types of Mayavadi. So one type says that Brahman, the undifferentiated Brahman, and of course they don't understand that Brahman always has variety, even though Brahman is undifferentiated. In one sense, it's always spiritual, but it has differences, like the Supreme Brahman. Now we're talking about different varieties of Brahman. Supreme Brahman is known as the Bhagawan aspect, that's Krishna. Paramatma, that's Krishna's expansion in the heart, and Brahman, the light, the energy. Let the force be with you, as they say in Star Wars. I don't know if anyone's here seeing Star Wars. So that's the supreme. All right, so there's Brahman. Hold on a second. So there's Brahman. So you have this Brahman. We've already defined what Brahman is, the greatest. So Brahman Parinamvad means the Brahman becomes transformed. It's like clay. You have a piece of clay and it becomes transformed, or you break off a piece of it. But that's not what the Upanishads say. They say that Brahman always remains the same, and so many units are emanated from the Brahman, and those units are complete, and the Brahman never becomes diminished. It remains the complete whole. Om Purnamada Purnamidam. That's from the Upanishad, for those of you who want to look it up. So anyway, and all right. So, but the fault of that Brahman Parinam Vad is that something would have to cause the transformation. If everything is one according to these Brahman Parinam Vad people, then something external force would have to act on Brahman to make it transformed. Now that means that external force is more powerful than Brahman, so that then Brahman couldn't be Brahman. The external force would be Brahman, so that's a fault. And so then the other philosophy is Brahma Vivarta, that Brahman gets into illusion. It's even stupider. So then you have to think that illusion is stronger. I'm God, and then I fell into illusion. I forgot that I'm God. All I got to do is remember that I'm God, and I got it made. So anyway, so that God forgets he's God. Of course, we also say that Krishna sometimes voluntarily forgets he's God so he can exchange rust with his devotees. But ultimately, ontologically, he doesn't forget God. He's God. So the Brahman forgets he's God, and he's walking around as a jiva soul, me. I actually now I'm going to reveal to you all that I'm God, and I just forgot about it. And now thanks to Pran Govinda, who pointed out Brahman Vivarta philosophy. Thanks to him, I've now achieved realization and realized my nature is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, of course, as God, I still need a computer. I still need to eat. I still need a mobile phone. So I'm not a very good example of God. So that's a Brahman Vivarta. Vivarta means illusion. So we also do have a philosophy of Parinam and Vivarta. We have Shakti Parinamvad is our philosophy. Shakti Parinamvad means the Lord's energies, they become transformed. Just like we see the pradhana, or the ingredients of the material energy, the Lord looks at it and becomes transformed and manifests the material world. So there's endless permutations in this world and transformation in this world of the Lord's energies. Just like the scientists talk about how neither energy or matter is destroyed, but it just can become transformed from one to the other. This is actually, physics, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. So we believe that's our type of, we have Shakti Parinamvad, not Brahman Parinamvad. And we also believe in Vivarta. We're in illusion. Jiva Vivarta. But then another point is we also believe in Prema Vivarta. There was one follower of Lord Caitanya, Jagadananda Pandit, who wrote a book, Prema Vivarta. And that means the illusion of love. So in the material world, when one falls in love, one's in real illusion. Because how is one an illusion? Because one thinks that someone's material body is beautiful. That's really illusion. To think, like if you look in the mirror, for you ladies, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most attractive devotee of them all? And you look in the mirror and you spend hours and hours and hours and hours combing your hair and decorating your face. And that's called illusion. Anyway, so, and then oh my God, when people look at each other and fall in love, that's called kama vivarta. I made up that term. Kama, kama vivarta. That I'm responsible for that term. I'm going to publish a book about it, kama vivarta, because then they become illusions because of kama. Kamayustasta ritigana prapajante nidevata. Anyway, so that's kama vivarta. And anyway, all right, I think I got into all those terms, vivarta, parinam, kama, prema. Oh, yeah, I forgot. Prema vivarta means that one is in love so much with the Supreme Lord that they forget that the Supreme Lord is the Supreme Lord, and they develop an intimate relationship with him. And like some of the gopis, they even chastise the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like Srimati Radharani does. And then, of course, that's the mood of Jagadananda Pandit, who we'll get to later as we read the Caitanya Caritamrta. He's an incarnation of Satyabhama, and Satyabhama sometimes gets really angry with Krishna. She throws a fit. There's a story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita how Satyabhama got so angry with Krishna because Krishna showed how he loved the residents of Vrindavan more than he loved her or the wives in Dwarka, that she threw a fit, and then Krishna just said to her, he chastised her, he said, I don't actually love you. He said, the only reason I got married to you because you remind me of my girlfriends in Vrindavan. So that's called Prema Vivarta. And if you don't understand that, just keep chanting Hare Krishna, and you will understand the pastimes and relationship that Krishna has with his girlfriends and with his wives. And the wives are all expansions of the girlfriends in Vrindavan. So the wives in Dwarka. So therefore, Krishna recognizes his girlfriends when he gets married to his wives, which is really interesting. Now, if you don't understand that fully, then that's normal for you not to understand it. So,
Maharaj,
but that's
can I
called,
ask you
that's Prema Vivarta. Let someone else ask a question.
just relevant to that, Maharaj? One,
Oh, you're
sorry.
always asking relevant questions.
Just
What's all right?
okay. What's the what then?
This one's going to
Can you,
cost you money.
because you are
What?
so good at it, I really love your explanation. Can you just
Thank you.
explain just one sentence difference between monism, pantheism,
Monism and what?
pantheism?
Pantheism. You talk about.
Yes,
Yeah, that's the way you pronounce it. Pantheism. Okay.
pantheism.
Monism. Okay. Monism is actually just to say, spiritual monism, just to say that everything is God. You know, we're all Brahman somehow, or we've forgotten we're God. A pantheistic conception means to see, in one sense, to mean to see God in nature. Pantheism, you know, God is all these different animals and birds and the bees, and God is my house, the sunshine, the moonshine, uh, my car. You know, I don't know what's my car. It basically means to see God in nature. Let me give you the dictionary definition of it, just so you can understand what pantheism is. Okay? I think it's important for people to understand the difference. So, a doctrine that identifies, this is one dictionary definition, God with the universe or everything in the universe, regards the universe as a manifestation of God. Yeah, it's a view that God.
Did God transform?
It, it,
Brahman
if
transform?
at first this concept pan means all, theos means God. So it means you see God in everything, like in the like I was talking about, in the sunshine, moonshine, the computer. That's called pantheism, according to the dictionary definition, and according to what I just said.
So Brahman transform into everything? Is that what it is?
No, pantheism is different than Brahman transforming to everything. That's right. That's it. That's parinam. But pantheism just means everything is divinity. Not that it transformed, but everything is divinity. All things compose an all encompassing immanent God.
Uh-huh.
Immanent God. That God is within everything. There's not pantheism doesn't encompass an understanding that there was God and then he just like divided himself, he got transformed. That everything is God. You're God, I'm God, my computer is God, uh, my dog is God.
Thank you.
That's why, that's why if you have a dog, you just like offer your obeisances to your dog.
Well, Krishna was worshipping Giriraj to himself.
That's it. Vidya Vinaya Sampani Brahmani Gavihastini Shuni Chivas Vapakicha Pandita Samadarshana seems to advocate pantheism, right?
Yeah.
Vidya Vinaya Sampani Brahmani Gavihastini Shuni Chivas Vapakicha Pandita Samadarshana. One who is Samadarshi sees everything equally. No, that's not pantheism. Because one sees everything equally because everything is connected with Krishna. That's how what they sees everything equally. Anyway, all these different heavy philosophical topics. Let someone else ask a question. You've. Next time I'm going to charge you for each question you ask.
Sure, Maharaj. But we love you. You are really,
You have to.
you are
I'll give
really
you
good.
I'll give you my PayPal account, and every time you ask a question, you'll have to send $100. And so, all right. So, you have.
I have your PayPal. Somebody send me.
Okay, great. So then you can ask as many questions as you like. Bribery will get you everywhere with these. So, Rakesh, you have a question. You got to unmute your. Oh, I got to allow you to unmute yourself. I was so enraptured with Prime Govinda that I forgot that there was anyone else watching us tonight.
Sorry, Maharaj.
Okay, Rakesh, you can unmute yourself now.
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisance.
Okay.
Gurudev, the question is, from my understanding, Brahman is a effulgence of God is Brahman.
That's the Brahmajyoti, and sometimes when you use the word, that's also the point I was making many, many times, is that words are defined according to the context. Krishna is the supreme Brahman. Brahman can mean spirit. Brahman can mean the greatest. And in a particular context, Brahman means the impersonal Brahman. But Brahman by itself usually means the greatest, although in different contexts, it can mean the impersonal Brahman. It can mean all three aspects of the Supreme Brahman, which is Paramatma, impersonal Brahman, and Bhagavan. Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattva yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdate. Depends on the context where you find the word. Okay?
So that we can alter the name of Krishna and Brahman, like the name can be alternate.
No, I mean usually no. I usually say Krishna. I don't say Brahman.
That's what I would say. I'm saying Paramatma.
I mean, I don't chant Hari Brahman, Hari Brahman, Brahman.
No, we don't. No. So where do we
But, Krishna is the supreme Brahman.
Yes. So then, how do
the topmost understanding of Brahman is Krishna? Brahman means spirit in that particular context. But you are also Brahman.
That I was about to go to that, because in Jainism we have a slokas we sing like Bindu bhi hum hai, Sindhu bhi hai, Bhakt bhi, Bhagwan bhi hai. That monism in nutshell.
Yes, in that sense, it's monism. I'm Brahman, you're Brahman, we're all Brahman. But there's variety in Brahman.
What does that mean? In fact,
it's like it's like the word person. You're a person, I'm a person, we're all persons. It's not just one person. There's many persons. Variety. The same way the word Brahman means spirit, and there's variety within spirit. There's the Jiva souls, there's the Shaktis of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there's Krishna's expansions, there's Krishna's effulgence. There's so much variety or difference. That's called the Chincha Beta Tattva philosophy. One and different simultaneously, conceivably.
That is Brahman. Krishna. Brahman, okay.
So you are Brahman also. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi.
So my concept of Brahma is the only effulgence. That's a very limited concept.
Om Aham Brahmasmi. Om Aham Brahmasmi. You are that is. So what's your question?
Like I was thinking that, but that's the philosophy we differ from Jainism. That Jainism said that we are Brahman, so we merge into the Brahman. But we said we never merge because we are a Jiva soul, so we.
That's right.
So I believe in that we remain suspended. And
That's good.
yesterday I was listening to Srila Prabhupada morning walk when you were doing your morning aarti. Like for you, it will be today morning. And in the Srila Prabhupada said that we go to the utmost level, and that's slokas we read today. And then since there is no ashray there, we have to come back. It's like the flights going into the sky.
That's right. That's right.
So I do believe in that. So that's why I thought when he said you go to the utmost level, you can't stay. I thought that is the Brahman.
That is the impersonal Brahman effulgence. You go there. Aruya Kuchena Param Patam. We spoke about that verse today. Yene Ravan Jaksha
Yes.
Vimuktimani Bhava Avishuddha Buddhaya Aruya Kuchena Param Patam. That one rises to that platform, thinks that they're liberated, but it's actually they have impure intelligence. Anyway, we're all Brahman. I'm
Yes,
Brahman, you're
Brahman himself.
Brahman. That's like we're all people. But
Yes,
I'm
Lord.
not, we're all persons. We're not all people. We're all persons. We're all persons, but we're different persons. So we're all Brahman. We're the same quality persons. So we're all different. So Brahman can refer to the quality of spirit. I know this one. Anyway, it's one and different simultaneously, but the point is that we are the same quality as God. We're just tiny. And the word Brahman, in certain contexts, can mean spirit. In other contexts, it can mean the effulgence of God. In other contexts, it can mean aspects of the Supreme Personality of God. It just depends on how you use the word Brahman, but the direct meaning is the greatest. Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. Actually, the Mayavadis have as their Mahavakya, great saying, in the Vedic literatures, Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. They chant it all the time. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. Tatvamasi also. I am that it is. I am that is. But what are you? And what is Brahman? That they do not define. Anyway, okay. After this class, I'm going to merge into the Brahman effulgence. It's called going to sleep. Actually, Prabhupada said sleep is death. He said every day you're dying. Why is that? Because you leave this lifetime and you go into an illusory lifetime. You forget. I mean, mostly. You forget who you are. And you go into an illusory lifetime. Some of us dream we're birds flying in the air. I had one dream many years ago that I was a bird flying in the air and I landed on top of the electric lines and I got a shock and I died. But there was a kirtan party right below me, so I became a devotee. No, that is last part I just made up. That was not part of my dream. Anyway, don't worry, be happy. You are Brahman. Tatvamasi. Aham Brahmasmi. Brahma Sacha Jagad Mithya.
I would be the Daridra Narayan Prabhu.
Yes, you're a Daridra Narayan. You're a poor Narayan.
Can I
I'm a
ask a
Dani.
question?
I'm a Dani Narayan. I'm a rich Narayan. What's the question?
So I'd just like to be devil's advocate for a second. Is that all right?
All right, you're the devil. I have realized that one before. So
Yeah. So let's go ahead and play along with those lines.
just real quickly because it's getting late. I'm not gonna. It's past the time. So
I'm going to argue. I'm going to
just make it
argue
real
that.
quick. If you can't do it in a minute, forget
Don't
it
worry.
because it's late.
I can do it. I can do it in 15 seconds.
Okay,
So I'm
do
going
it.
to argue that I'm Krishna and that I voluntarily forgot that I was Krishna in order to enjoy being in Maya, and that actually
Okay,
we're all Krishna in the same way.
all right. So then just lift Govardhan Hill for me.
I'm struggling to remember that I'm Krishna, but I
All
know that I
right.
am.
So you struggle, and then I'll struggle. I'll struggle to kick you in the face. That's what Prabhupada would say, something like that. Kick you with boots. Okay, it's time to end. Thank you very much. All glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. See everybody tomorrow.